In the uncounted millennia since the Solari Dominion had last surveyed the third planet of a dim G-class star, the galaxy itself had shifted in ways no one could fully catalogue. Stars had bloated and died, empires had risen and vanished, archives had burned, and memories had eroded. All that remained in the collective recollection of the Solari High Directive was that Earth, a blue sphere once crawling with a noisy, unremarkable species called Homo sapiens, had been left to rot after the extinction quarantine was declared. 500,000 years. That was longer than any of the mission specialists aboard the survey ship Venerants of Cold Witness could grasp. They were biologically immortal, but still their sense of time was no match for the magnitude of the silence Earth had endured. Subcommander Theron of the Solari was the first to break the hush as the ship entered high orbit. His faceted eyes studied the projections rising from the console. Earth's atmosphere, filtered through eons of cosmic bombardment and unrestrained tectonics, still shimmered with a faint ozone signature. But the readings were inconsistent. "Scan again," Theron ordered, his voice like a blade across the glassy command deck. "I detect unusual energy flux. There should be nothing alive. Nothing sentient." The crew obeyed, instruments reaching deep into the electromagnetic spectrum. A murmur rippled through them when the biosignatures appeared. They were staggeringly complex, far beyond any baseline mammalian life. "Impossible," whispered Analyst Vale. "The species was annihilated by climate collapse and nuclear exchange. The record is clear. No human DNA could have persisted." Yet the readings sharpened. Not only was there life, there were structures, miles-wide lattices of blackened metal rising from old continental shelves. Gravitic distortions pulsed around them, suggesting active containment fields. Theron's mandibles drew tight. "Transmit recon drones. Full spectrum. If this is a contamination event, we will catalog it before the disinfection protocol." Tiny spear-shaped drones departed the survey ship and plunged into the troposphere. Their cameras revealed a landscape transformed beyond any recognizable precedent. North America was a supercontinent welded to Eurasia. Ancient cities had been folded into labyrinths of obsidian towers, some drifting kilometers above the cracked plains. And the signals, thousands of them, spoke in tight band frequencies, modulated in mathematical sequences that no Solari system could decrypt. Dale's gill-like sensory fronds flared in alarm. "These emissions, they're anticipatory. Tracking us." Theron fixed his gaze on the drone feeds. Beneath the towers, something stirred. A titanic humanoid figure, perhaps 300 meters in height, unfolded from a crouch. Its surface was not biological, yet not wholly mechanical. As it rose, the drone's telemetry began to fail, their signals jammed by something not merely electronic but probabilistic in nature. One last frozen frame burned into the main display. A face shaped like no god the Solari had ever worshipped, human, yet blank and gleaming, eyes like voids that swallowed the sensor beams. The screen died. And every drone winked out of existence. An engineer began to panic. "Subcommander, we are being scanned by something. It's projecting a waveform into our systems." A low, inhuman voice crackled from every speaker. "Return. Witness. Remember." The words struck them with the force of a physical blow. Theron felt his mind reel, as if centuries of memories were being forcibly extracted. He staggered against his console. "Cease transmission," he barked, but no control responded. The ship's AI flickered and failed. Displays devolved into cascading glyphs. The voice spoke again, resonant and cold. "In the epoch of your dominion, you named us extinct. We endured. At last, through some act of desperation, an auxiliary process severed the broadcast. The lights returned. Silence fell. Vale's fronds drooped in horror. "Subcommander, those entities are using human morphological templates. But they are no longer human. They have become something else." Theron swallowed, feeling a new, primal dread. He called up the oldest records in their archives, searching for any reference to post-human evolution. There was only one fragment, a speculative treatise penned by a rogue xenoanthropologist. When a species masters not merely matter, but consciousness itself, it ceases to be bound by decay. Should humanity ever achieve self-directed quantum migration, their final form would be unrecognizable, a civilization of distributed minds and living machines. The galaxy would never see them die. For a moment, no one spoke. Then an alarm klaxon began to wail. "Contact," cried the helmsman. "Multiple gravitational anomalies, emerging in orbit." Points of darkness bloomed in space, unfolding into silent black structures, spindly constructs like coral spires, but rotating in patterns no Solari algorithm could predict. "They are projecting interdiction fields," Vale rasped. "We are trapped." Theron stared at the largest construct, a kilometer-long spear of obsidian. As it oriented toward them, he felt the weight of inevitable judgment. 500,000 years ago, the Solari had watched Earth's agony from orbit and done nothing. They had sealed the planet in a quarantine perimeter, convinced that no species could ever claw its way back from such devastation. And now, the descendants of that species had become architects of a power the Solari could not comprehend. A transmission flared across every band of the electromagnetic spectrum, embedding itself in their ship's systems. "Observe." Below, the colossal humanoid raised a hand. A lattice of force ignited across the planetary surface. Mountain ranges melted and reformed in an instant. Seas boiled, then crystallized into angular shelves. In seconds, the entire world shifted into a geometrically perfect lattice. The crew watched in stupefied awe as Earth transformed itself, not merely terraforming, but reconfiguring all matter to a singular design. Vale's voice was small, almost childlike. They're rebuilding the planet." Theron felt the edges of his certainty dissolve. "What are they preparing for?" No one answered. The largest construct in orbit began to project an image into their minds, an impression more felt than seen, the Milky Way itself, mapped in uncanny detail. In that mental vision, hundreds of thousands of other worlds glimmered. A wave of reorganizing force spread out from Earth, flowing into the dark between stars. One by one, the symbols for other ancient civilizations flickered and vanished. "Observe." It was not a threat. It was an inevitability. Vale's fronds drooped to the deck. "They are ascending. Reclaiming all matter for their design." Theron felt an emotion no Solari had named, a suffocating regret. They had come to observe the ruins of a dead species. Instead, they had become witnesses to a power that had gestated in silence longer than their entire civilization had existed. He spoke softly, more to himself than the crew. "And so ends our dominion." Below them, the reshaped world glowed with fractal light. The human post-consciousness did not gloat or explain. It merely continued its inexorable work, reordering reality itself, as if the universe were a tapestry and they alone held the loom. When the final signal arrived, a parting transmission, it carried only 3 words. "You were warned."